Today's daf is Ayin Hey. We're going to start right at the top. The second line, Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia Amar Rav. He's going to say three things. If you remember, we're still in the middle of the Melachot. We started our Mishnah with the 39 Melachot. We went through, and it's a little bit strange exactly what's going on here because they're not expounding very much. They're expounding very slightly on each one, getting to a little of the concepts, although not really each one. They're not going through all 39. And we'll see when we get to the end today, we're going to finish this Mishnah already, right? You would have thought this would be one of those Mishnayot that they have a lot of things to say. But in fact, we're going to see that they already jump at the end. They're going to start. It's a little bit of a, what we call a chiastic structure. It started with the 39 Melachot, ended with, the last one was Hotza'ah Me'Reshut LeReshut. And then from here, we're going to get off for a few prakim, in fact, on Hotza'ah, okay? And deals with, and going to start dealing with carrying. So it's going to start with the very last thing and then go backwards. One thing about the structure of the Mishnah, we talked about how it starts with shiur with pot, about preparing the bread. Then it goes to clothing. Then it goes to parchment, preparing parchment for writing. And then we get into boning. There's something, if you notice, interesting about it. This is very common in Mishnayot. In fact, they even say this happens in the, let me tell you what it is, and I'll tell you where it also happens. But basically, the idea here is we started with the first one had 11 malachot associated with it, and then it got less and less and less. So that's the structure. It kind of starts with the biggest list and then gets smaller. This happens, by the way, in the Seder of Mishnah, like Nizikin, or the chapters, the Masechtot, that are the largest, usually go first, and then it gets smaller. Okay, you can check it out. I don't know if it's true across the board or generally. I don't remember, but I remember coming across that. And if you have a Mishnah Stura at home, it's a certain Hotza'ah Mishnah. They have a whole list of how many prakim in each Mishnah and all of that. So it's good to know. Okay, starting from the beginning now. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia Amar Rav. So he's now going to say three things. Only one of those three things is connected to our issue. Okay, this is connected with the melachot. If your threads are loosening and you tighten them, that's considered sewing. Okay, it's interesting. You're not even sewing, but you're tightening stitches that were already there. Then it's also forbidden from Torah law. Here comes two other things that seem unconnected. If you want, in talking Talmud, they'd have to talk about some of these issues today, which clearly need more in-depth research into a discussion, which we're not going to get to today, but we'll mention it briefly. If you learn one thing from one of these Persian priests, they were called Magoshim, or Amgosh, sometimes they appear as, you are obligated by death, okay? You get killed for doing this. There's a bit of a debate about what this is. We're going to see in the Gemara, there's a debate, so I'm not even going to get into Rashi yet. And he said, and some people say what we mean Davar Echad is Davar Echad of Torah. You can't learn any Torah from him. But it could be you can't learn anything from him. We're going to see. Here's another interesting one. If you understand the way the weather system works. You understand the way nature works. Okay, you can figure things out from the constellations or the way the weather works, the tkufot, the seasons. Ve'eino choshev, and you don't do that. Asur l'saper hemenu. Now, this is a very strange wording. You can't, sounds like speak with him. In other words, if there's a person who does this, who's very capable and knowledgeable and doesn't use that knowledge, then you're not allowed to speak with that person, maybe learn Torah with that person. What exactly means l'saper hemenu is very strange. Does it mean you can't associate with the person? Not exactly clear. I'll kind of leave it as an open question, although we'll get a little bit more into this, what's going on, in a minute or two. So now we're going to start with the Magoshta. Magoshta, which is another version of the word Magosh. Rav Ushmuel. There's a machlokes Rav Ushmuel about this. Chad Amar Harshe. One says they were magicians. So you can't learn any kind of magic from them. It's okay, and if you do, you're chayav mitah. B'chad Amar, or you can't learn Torah from these magicians. B'chad Amar Gidufe. Gidufe, the Megadef comes up in the Torah. It's somebody who's like a mesit. He tries to push you to do avodah zarah, right? It's someone who's basically, Rashi calls him a meme, right? The category of a heretic. It's a heretic who's trying to get you to leave Judaism. So that kind of a person, now it makes a lot of sense according to that, why you can't learn anything from this person, because they might pull you away from Judaism. So now the question is, who says what? Because we're only told Rav and Shmuel, one says this, one says that. Tistayim de Rav de Amar Gidufe. It must be Rav is the one who said that it's someone who's a heretic. Why? De Amar Rav Zutra bar Tuvia Amarav, Halmei davar achav min ha-magosh chayav mita. Because what did he say? Notice, Rav Zutra bar Tuvia said in the name of Rav this halacha. Remember, this halacha was passed down by Rav, that Halomei davar achad is chayav mita. Now, if you thought that it was magic, haktiv lo tilmad lasot afalatan lamed lahavinu lehorot. Okay, look at the verse that talks about magic. It says, Ki ata ba'a la'aretz. I'm reading from Dvarim Yud Chet Tet. If you have the Psukim on the side in your edition of the Gemara, you can sit there. Ki ata ba'a el la'aretz, Hashem Elokecha noten lach. When you get to the land that God gives us, lo tilmad lasot ketoavot hagoyim hahem. It says, don't learn to do like the way the non-Jews living there are doing. Now notice it says, don't learn to do. That means you can't learn to do, but you can learn. You can learn in order to understand and to teach. But what are we talking about here? So basically we're saying that if we say that Rav is the one who said that learning from a magosh gives you the death penalty, I want to go through the structure here. Rav Zutra bar Tuvia said this in the name of Rav, these halachot. The machloket Rav and Shmuel is, what is a magosh bichlal? When we talk about the word magosh, do we mean someone who's involved in sorcery, or do we mean someone who's a heretic? So now we go to Rav and we say, well, it must be Rav thinks the magosh is a heretic, because otherwise it wouldn't be chayav mita, because you're actually allowed to learn sorcery for the purposes of understanding and teaching. Now, what does it mean, understanding and teaching? For what purpose would you need to know this? You might say, oh, I want to learn magic. It's interesting. No, that's not why. So two different explanations I'll bring you that are given. One is, in order to know if you're a judge, let's say, and you want to judge a case, and you have to know, is this in the category of sorcery or not? It's forbidden by the Torah, so you need to know what sorcery is in order to know I have to punish you because you're involved in sorcery. That's one option. The Meiri says, very interestingly, you have to know sorcery, because if you want to distinguish between a Navi Amet and a Navi Sheker, a false prophet and a real prophet, right? Prophets often bring signs, and they say, oh, look, I will do the following, and then you'll believe me that I'm a true prophet. But now if they use sorcery to do that, then they're not going to be a true prophet. So therefore, you have to know what sorcery is to be able to know whether someone's pulling the wool over your eyes or not. So that's so it seems that sorcery is allowed, and therefore Rav, who says you're actually chayav mita, we're not, right? Sorcery is allowed to learn for the purposes lahavinu lahorot, and therefore when he says that, they have the debate about magosh, it must be he's the one who thinks that it's a heretic. Tistayim. Okay, so we can say that must be true. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Mishum bar Kapara. Kol hayodeh lechashev b'tkufot umazalot ve'eino choshev. Alav hakatuv omer ve'et pol Hashem lo yabitu u'maaseh yadav lo ra'u. He says this following verses said about the person who doesn't do this, and from here we can learn a little bit about what the issue is. Means that they haven't looked at the work of God. They haven't seen his ma'asim, what God does. In other words, if you have the capabilities and you don't use them, it's like you're basically not willing to see God's work in this world. And Amar Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, minayin shemitzvah l'adam chashev tkufot u'mazalot. How do we know that it's a mitzvah? This is wording it in the positive, not the negative, right? If you don't do it, you will be asur l'saper menu, but this is in the positive. How do we know it's a mitzvah? That if you know how to do this, you should be involved in this. Shene'emar u'shmartem v'asitem, ki hi chochmatchem u'binatchem la'inei ha'amim. You should get involved with this, because this is, now it doesn't say tkufot u'mazalot, okay? It just says you should observe and do this, because this is your intelligence and understanding in the eyes of the nations. So they say, and how do we know this is talking about tkufot u'mazalot? Lechashev tkufot u'mazalot, because eze chochma u'bina shehi le'inei ha'amim. What is chokhmah? Generally, Torah is not something learned by non-Jews. Now, nowadays, that's all changed. Non-Jews do learn Torah, but still the vast majority of non-Jews are not spending their time learning Torah. So what would be a way of you showing your intelligence and understanding to non-Jews? Hevei omer, to the other nations. Hevei omer zeh chishuv tkufot u'mazalot. So basically what it's saying is, this is our way, and some people understand this as, if you know how to do this, you have a responsibility. It's what we call in general terms, the Kiddush Hashem. It's a way to show, wow, look, Jews are intelligent, Jews know things, right? We see throughout history, this is always right, Jews are always attacked. On the other hand, there's always the other side, which is, look how much Jews have accomplished. So if you have the capabilities of understanding things that are things that the world needs, basically, and they're helpful to the world, and want maybe extend this to all sorts of things, and you don't do it, so then the Gemara says, again, it's unclear what it means, asur l'saper, but whatever it is basically saying, don't do this because we're going to tell other people not to speak to you or not to be in contact with you or not to learn from you, or you're basically wasting your talents. Okay, and that's viewed as something pretty bad here, which is interesting. Okay, moving on back to our issue, Hatzad Tzvi. Tanu Rabbanan, Hatzad Chilazon v'hapotzo. So thank you, Julie, for putting up the video. I recommend anyone who hasn't yet seen it, it went up a few days ago on the site, about capturing chilzonot, okay, and what they would do. So they would capture the snails in order to make the tchelet, and then they would take out, there's a gland inside the snail that they would cut out. Okay, in doing so, they actually kill the snail or some part along the process. You know, they actually in the movie they smash it. In the little video they smash it, and then they cut out the gland. Right, you have to break the shell to get inside to the gland, and then you would take it out, and from there you would prepare the dye. I'm going to stick it to this part of this stage because that's the stage we're talking about. Again, watch the video and you can see all the stages. So if you're tzad chilazon v'hapotzo, potzo is when you smash it open and you take out the gland. Eino chayav ela achat. You're only chayav for one malacha. Okay, now this seems strange, and we're going to see the Gemara thinks it's strange, but it seems the malacha you're chayav is because of tzad. You capturing is forbidden. Rabbi Yehuda omer chayav shtayim. Shaya Rabbi Yehuda omer tziat bichlal disha. Says you're actually obligated to, because by taking out the gland, what is this? This is removing something. It's like the shell, right, is covering the wheat kernel, and you smash it on the threshing floor, you trample on it in order to remove something that's inside something else. So the same thing with the chilazon. Okay, I see someone asked where to find it on the site. So there's two different places you can find it on the site. On the homepage, it is also we've redone a few things on the homepage. So anyone who hasn't been on there since yesterday, there's already some new design, which is that from the homepage, you can already get to, there's different channels, which are the regular things that appear on the site, there's two in Hebrew, the Gefet and Daf Yomi, and there's Talking Talmud, which appears now on a daily basis, and why am I totally blanking? There's another one. I don't know why I've lost my mind right now, but there's basically channels on the homepage where you can find the regular things that are that come up all the time. And then there's a section, What's New. And in the What's New, you can find Julie's, and it also should be at the bottom of the pages. I'm not sure if we associated with this page, but certainly later today, I'll make sure it's associated also with this page. So generally, all the author posts are associated with, all the extra commentaries are associated with particular pages. So if you're on the Daf page, underneath the podcast, you can find all the extra comments that are associated with the page. And also, for those who are listening, I noticed the other day that not everybody knows that the video is up in Zoom, that you can, the Zoom video, and you can join by Zoom Live, which is now at 7:10 Israel time. It might change in the next week. For those listening, there might be a change. I'll have to see how the schedule works. And so stay tuned for details. And also it's recorded so you can listen, you can watch it. If you prefer to watch rather than just listen, you can also watch it on YouTube. It's also on the site. You can find it all on the day's Daf. Okay, that was a little aside. Now we're back to our issue. So we have here, according to the first opinion, you're only chayav one. And according to, for capturing, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're chayav two because you're also doing the pula disha, the threshing. It's a toladav, threshing. You're obviously not threshing, but it has the same action associated with it. Taking out something, it was within something else. Amrlo, ain't psia bichlal disha. They said to him, that's not disha. It's very different. Cutting off this gland is not the same as disha. I wouldn't view it in the same way. Amar Rava, my time of Rabbanan. So what's the reason? Oh, I now remembered. Sorry that I blanked on it. The content, the channel is the weekly review of the Daf by Tamara Spitz, which is from Web Yeshiva, and it's housed also on our site, which is a good weekly review. She does a quick review of the Daf and then goes in depth into something learned that week. So it's also, and it goes up about a day or two after the actual class. It's a live class that happens on a live web class. And you can listen live, you can sign up to Web Yeshiva, or you can actually watch it later. It sits on our site. Okay. Amarava, my taima de Rabbanan, kasavre. So now, why do the rabbis think that psiya is not disha? Because really it is kind of the same idea. So why wouldn't it be qualified under disha? And this goes back to something we saw yesterday. Kasavre ein disha ela legidule karka. This is what we talked about yesterday. Are the first acts that we do, all the things sidura de pat, is it only food or is it other things? Is it only things that grow from the ground? Okay, it might not be only food, but things that grow from the ground rather than things like snails, which do not grow from the ground. So therefore, they think that disha would not apply to anything that's not something growing from the ground, and that's why it wouldn't apply here. Okay, but now they bring up a very important point, which is fine. I understand it maybe not disha, because ein disha lebigdulei karka, but l'chayv nami mishum netilat neshama, but you kill the snail in the process. So look at the melachot, hatzad tzvi, you capture the tzvi, then you're shochet, then you slaughter it. This is also, now you don't slaughter, but you kill it. So why would you be chayav because of that? So Amar Yochanan, this part where it didn't mention that and it only mentioned capturing, sheptza omed, would be a case where you took it out when it was already dead. Okay, you captured, now it's a little bit strange, you're capturing a dead snail, but somehow you captured a dead snail. Rava Amar, afilu, or maybe you captured it and then it died on its own, and then you opened it up. Rava Amar, afilu temash tza'ochai. Rava says, wait, I could explain it even that you captured it live, and still you won't be chayav for killing it. And here's an interesting answer. Goes back to what we learned a few days ago. Mit'aseku etzal netilat neshama. You're not actually trying to kill it. You're trying to take something out of it. It's true, you kill it along the way, but that's not your intent. Again, it's similar to, it's a little like davar she'eino mitkaven, and we're going to use wording that they use when it comes to davar she'eino mitkaven, but it's mitasek. It's like you tried to cut something that was detached from the ground, you cut something attached, right? You cut something off the snail. It happened to die, but that's not what you were intending to do. So the Gemara doesn't really like this answer and says, Vaha Abaye v'Rava, but Rava himself, who just said this, and Abaye, both of them agreed, Amar Travayu, Modeh Rabbi Shimon. Now, this isn't by Mitasik. This is by Davar She'eino Mitkaven. There's the big machloket, which we mentioned a bunch of times. If you're intending to do one thing and you do a different malacha, right, while you're doing, right, you're intending this, but something else happens as a result, then, right, which is a little different than Mitasik, where you intend to do something and you actually end up doing something different. But here, you intended to do something which, caused another malacha to happen in the process, but you weren't intending for that malacha. So Rabbi Shimon says it's allowed. However, he says he's modeh. He agrees that if it's definitely going to happen. Now, when you remove this gland from the snail or you smash it to get the gland out, it's 100% going to die. So therefore, even Rabbi Shimon would agree that this is forbidden. So how could we say that it's okay, right? That you're not chayav, well, not that it's okay, but that you're not obligated because of killing it. So what do they answer? Shanehach, an interesting answer, right? Psik Resha, again, comes from, I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. It means if you cut off the head of a rooster, will it not die? And so you could say, I was just trying to cut off his head. I wasn't trying to kill it. But of course it's going to die. So you can't claim, well, that wasn't what I meant to do because you knew it was going to happen. So it's true you didn't really intend it, but you knew exactly. It's different from mitasik, where you didn't exactly know it was going to happen. That's why it's a little strange here why they use mitasik. It really means he wasn't intending it. But you see why the term is confusing because it's used sometimes a little bit in a different way. But you weren't intending to kill it, but what do you mean? You knew it was going to happen. So that's as much intent as we can get. That you knew it. So, it's better, so long as the snail stays alive, the color will be clearer. So therefore, maybe even be brighter or bolder. Because it's better for you, and this is what we call a psik resha de lo nichale in halachic terms. It's not noach, it's not comfortable for you, it's not good for you. You don't really want to kill the snail, because if you can keep the snail alive longer, the color will be brighter. That's why the idea that it was already dead is weird, because the color's not going to be as good if it's already dead. But the idea being that the more you could keep it alive is better, and since you don't really want it to die, therefore, even though it's definitely going to die, you're still not responsible for having killed it. Okay, so that's the second answer. Okay, and Julie says, which I assumed was right, that this is true chemically. Okay, because if it's dead, the color will not work at all. Okay, so thank you for clarifying. Okay, moving on. Now we have another very strange. So yeah, I'll explain the whole thing according to Rashi, and then I'll bring you at the very end Tosfot's explanation, which actually makes a lot more sense. But I'll start with Rashi just because that's the basic way of reading this again. Then I'll read the pshat, which makes a lot more sense according to Tosfot. Hashochato. So now we get to the line Hashochato. We started with Atzat Tzvi. Now we're up to slaughtering it. Shochet mishum mai chayav. This is very strange. What do you mean? Shochet, why are you obligated for shochet? Isn't it because you're killing the animal? And it is an av malacha. So why are you asking, why are you obligated for the av malacha of shochet? It sounds very strange. Rashi says that what we're talking about, the question is, shchita b'melechet hamishkan hecha. Where is shchita in the Mishkan? Now, this obviously wouldn't be a question for Rav Hai Gaon and Rabbeinu Hanana, who say that we're talking about melachot or even things that were done in the Mishkan after it was built, because obviously they're slaughtering animals all the time. That's what they do for their sacrifices. But Rashi can't explain that because Rashi says the melachot are specifically ones that were done in preparation of building the Mishkan. But even Rashi is going to say, well, you might have said it's obvious because they have all these, if you remember, the orot elim adamim, the hides come from the animals, from the elim, from the rams, and there's orot chashim, there's the tachash, which we had a whole discussion. What is a tachash? Those come from animals, and you have to kill the animal. So why are you even asking that? It doesn't make any sense. Of course, we know where it is in the Mishkan. So again, just to clarify, Rashi's question is, where do we find shechita in the Mishkan? And then they say, what do you mean? There's all these cases. Rashi says, well, what it means is, lama lehu shechita bechanika namisage. Why did it specifically say slaughtering? Slaughtering is a particular way that we slaughter animals when we want to eat them. But really, theoretically, again, according to Rashi, whose view is that we're not talking about the slaughtering of animals to bring sacrifices, because that's not what the Lamatech Melachot are based on. So when they killed the animals to get the hide, they could have killed them in any way. They could have strangled them. Now, what's the difference? Strangling, there's usually no blood. So you could have just strangled the animal. Why did it specifically mention slaughter? It's a little bit strange, I have to say, this question. And it's not really, I'm going to read Tosfot later, who has, I think, a better pshat, but let's just get the sugi according to Rashi, and then we'll bring in Tosfot. So what are you chayav for? You're chayav because of coloring. Meaning, when you slaughter the animal, what happens? Blood comes out. It colors the hide of the animal or meat of the animal. Shmuel says, no, you're chayav for slaughtering, for killing the animal. So first of all, the Gemara says, what are you talking about, Rav? When you slaughter an animal, the whole reason you're obligated is because of coloring and not because of killing? That doesn't make any sense. So they say, no. Ema af mishum tzoveh. What he's trying to say is you're chayav even mishum tzoveh. Now this is also very weird. Why is it very weird? Because the Mishnah mentions coloring separately from slaughtering. So if the way Rashi is going is, why did they mention slaughtering? And they say because slaughtering includes coloring and killing, but coloring is mentioned in a different malacha. So if Rashi is really, his focus is on the word of the malacha of shechita, it's a little difficult. Even though we haven't finished this again, I'm going to go now to Tosfot. The last line of Tosfot on Ayin Hamud Aleph says, he says, Lava shochetim anitin kai. We're not talking about, this isn't a reference to the word hashochato in the Mishnah. No. Because that pshita, everybody knows exactly what we were saying. That's only because you're killing. That's why shechita is usher. It's soveat nam behedya b'matnitin. You wouldn't say that the melacha of shechita includes coloring and killing, like Rab's explanation makes no sense, because there's a separate melacha listed for coloring. Ela ashocheta al makai. What Tosfot is saying is that the Gemara is saying, if you right now get up and slaughter an animal on Shabbat, for what are you obligated? And now we're going to say you're obligated because you took out a neshama. According to Rav, you killed someone. Shmuel also, that's what it is. But according to Rav, it's additional that you also are obligated in coloring because the blood is now on the animal. Okay? So that has nothing to do with the malacha. It's about the act of slaughtering now. If you're to do it, you're not only going to be chayav because of the av malacha of shochet, you're also going to be chayav because of the av malacha of tovea, according to Rav. And that, to me, makes a lot more sense than saying, where is shechita in the Mishkan, and then connecting it with the av malacha of tzviyah. It seems very strange. Amar Rav. Now we end with, this section ends with, Rav says a funny line. He says, Milta de Amre, ema ba milta de lo lete, dare batra v'lichu alai. I'm going to tell you something right now, he says, so that later generations don't come and laugh at me. Because theoretically, what Rav is saying does seem kind of silly, right? shechs an animal to get the blood on the animal and wants to color the animal with the blood. It seems very odd. So it says to tell you something so that later generations don't make fun of me and say, what on earth was he talking about? Sometimes you wish they had added lines like this, because sometimes you really don't understand what they're saying, and it would have been helpful had they explained themselves. So he actually comes and he says, so why is it good that it be colored with blood? It's good to color the Beit HaShrita is the neck where you slaughter the animal. It's good to color it with blood. People will, if you want to sell your meat, you want to sell. Now think about the days when they didn't have refrigeration, right? We're so careful that we only go to a butcher where we know they keep the meat very cold, right? If you go, I've been to stores where they don't protect things, they don't keep it well, right? And then you don't get spoiled meat. So basically they say, in those days when they didn't have that, what sign could they show that the meat was fresh? If it still had fresh blood on it. We all know the blood over time dries up, and you could tell how long the blood's been on there. So they wanted it to be colored red with the blood so that people would see that this is fresh meat. So in fact, it is useful, and that's why you're also obligated because of coloring. Okay, moving on to the next malacha. Ha-molcho v'ha-ma'abdo, salting and tanning. So the Gemara says, like we have with Bora, hainu molech, hainu ma'abed. Salting is part of the process of tanning. So they're really one and the same. Like tanning kind of could include salting. So why are they listed separately? Really take out one of them and put in sirtut. Sirtut is when you make these indentations on the parchment. Right nowadays in the Sefer Torah, there's those little etchings to be able to see the lines. That's sirtut. But here they really mean preparing it for cutting. You might cut it exactly the size, so you would put these indentations in. That would be an av malacha instead of one of these. Okay, so they take it out. By the way, Rav Yochanan Rish Lakish, it was said about them that they spent, I forget the source exactly, but in the Yerushalmi it says, I think 2.5 or 3 years they spent just on the Lamatet Malachot, and they found a derivation of 39 toladot for each malacha. So 39 malachot and 39 outgrowths of each malacha that are forbidden. We spent a long time learning this, almost like these guys are the experts on this, and they say this is all the same. We're going to put a different one in its place. Here you see, by the way, that there were different versions, and we saw this before, of which malachot go in and which malachot aren't. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, Haiman demalach bisra chayav mishum ma'abed. If you salt your meat, and people kosher their meat by salting, you're obligated because of ma'abed. Okay, even though there it was hide and this is meat, you're still obligated. Rav Amar ein ibud ba'ochalin. Rava says no. Ibud is only something, this is like we saw, the other ones were only gidulei karka. This is only for the hide and not for food. Okay, so those were only food, this is not for food. And now he's going back to the first opinion that said you are obligated. Now Rav Ashi is going to narrow the focus of what his words. Lo amar ela de lo kabaile la orcha. Sorry, I read that wrong. De kabaile la orcha. It's if you salt it, there's 2 different ways of salting. You could salt them in the long term. I was wondering, I don't know, I didn't look this up, but if like beef jerky, all that dried up meat, kabanos in Israel, right, are those made by salting? First of all, they are very salty, but they would salt their meat to have it last a long time. I'm assuming it's something like that, like dried salami. Okay, so if they salt it for going on a trip, so then that's real salting where it hardens the meat, just like the hardening of the hide. Then, according to those who think there is ibud ba'ochlin, it would only be in that scenario. Aval lebeita, but if you're doing it just for your house, lo mishana inish michle eitz. It doesn't turn into a hard tree-like, right? A tree is very hard. It doesn't turn hard, and therefore you're not going to be obligated because of me'abed. So the smoothing, which we said was done by plucking out the hairs and taking off any of the dirt that was on the hide to make it smooth, and then cutting it to size. So now we're going to talk about some toladot of these. Amar Rabbi Acha bar Chanina, hashaf ben amudim b'Shabbat chayav mishum memachek. If you smooth something out between pillars, you're obligated because of memachek. I specifically explained that in a very vague way because I wanted to explain to you the words, and now I'm going to give you 2 different interpretations. One interpretation is that you smooth out the ground in between 2 pillars. If you remember the rabbis, there were rabbis who would daven where they learned between the amudim. So it could be, right, between pillars was, I guess, a place where people would sit. I guess also pillars were holding up buildings, so people would generally be in between the pillars. So if you want to flatten out the ground in between pillars to sit on, then you're obligated because of memache, because you're smoothing. Now, what's the problem with this interpretation? The problem is that we already learned that smoothing out the ground, you're chayav because of bone. Remember, we talked about that the other day, about sweeping, or you have a big chunk of dirt and you move it, then you're chayav because of building. So theoretically, this should be building. So other people say that what we're talking about, and also, by the way, this would show, if you interpret it that way, that smoothing out the ground could be a tolada memache. Whereas before it sounded like, well, it wasn't ba'ochlin, you might have thought it was only by hides. Now we're going to learn it actually applies to other things. That's the Meiri. Other people say that you're actually rubbing the leather, the hide, in between the amudim, meaning you're using the pillars to smooth out, as opposed to plucking out hairs and other things, right, and taking off dirt. If you sand it down kind of thing using the pillars, you smooth it out, then you're also obligated because of memachet. So two very different explanations of what this is. And so, what's the weakness of that? Because every time, if there's two different interpretations, obviously each one has a weakness. The weakness is that that's obviously memachet. And you might say, well, it's a little different because you're not plucking out hairs, but theoretically you're smoothing out the hide. It's really the malacha itself of memachet, it sounds like. So again, one can explain, well, you're doing it in a bit of a different way, but really that's smoothing the hide. It should be obvious. You shouldn't even need to say it. And certainly it sounds like this is a tolada. It sounds like that would be an av malacha. So that's why there's different interpretations. The following three things I learned from Rabbi Ashi, who taught it in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. If you smooth out the top of poles, okay, these types of poles that you cut off the top of them, or to sharpen them, to smooth them, chayav mishum mechatech. You're basically cutting to size. So that's mechatech. Hamimareach ritzia b'Shabbat. Chayav mishum memachek. Okay, this is, you smooth out a cream or an ointment on a bandage, and then you put it on. You're chayav mishum memachek. Okay, this is a big issue. How and if and how can one use creams on Shabbat? Okay, and if you, in the way that you can't do it, you're actually obligated because of memachek. It's a toladav, smoothing out. Hamisatet evan. If you chisel a rock, b'Shabbat chayav mishum makebet patish. That's the final act, the chiseling. So you're obligated because you're now preparing it for use. Am Rabbi Shimon ben Kisma, Am Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. We've seen Rabbi Shimon ben Kisma quoting Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish a lot, which is Rish Lakish. Hatzar tzura b'kli. Okay, here also we're going to see. Okay, we're going to see a few things that you're chayav mishum makebet patish again. We're now talking about the second to last malacha of the final blow. Interesting, they end with the final blow, right? You would think it would even be the last, but obviously moving from reshut to reshut is a whole different category. But this ends in the lachot, basically. So he says, Hatzar tzura b'kli. Now it sounds like if you carve an image into a utensil. So you made an earthenware vessel and then you carve the image, that's the final act of the kli. Some people say, no, that's an extra. That's not really the final act. The kli is ready without that, right? It's just decorative. So other people say it's putting it in its mold. Okay, to put it in the mold where you want to shape the kli, that's the final act. But if you do glass blowing, and when you blow into the glass to make the shape, that's the final blow, literally. Okay, no pun intended. You're chayav mishum makebet patish. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Haiman deshakel akupe miglime. If you take out, when you make a cloth, there's sometimes some extra strings hanging out. So if you pull out those extra strings, you're chayav mishum makebet patish. That's the final act that you would do on the preparing of cloth. You pull out whatever extra strings are still there. Or you cut them off or take them out, pull them out. But that's only if you don't want the strings to be there. If you don't really care, okay, and here we're going to start getting into, this will be the Mishnah at the bottom of the page, about how much subjectivity weighs into things. Okay, this is if you care. If you don't care and you walk around with strings on your clothes, then taking it out is not the final blow because it's already ready without that. Hakotev sheotio, tanu Rabbanan. Okay, you're only chayav if you write two letters. So now I ask, this is a typical, you would expect Rabbi Yirmiyah to do this, to say this, but actually it was a braita before him. Katav ot echad gedola. Let's say you write one very large letter and it takes up the space of two. Right? Yesh b'mkoma lichtov shtayim. You took up the space on the parchment for two letters. Patur, you're not obligated because you didn't write two letters. Doesn't matter how big they were. But machak ot gedola, if you erase one big letter, yesh b'mkoma lichtov shtayim chayav. If you're making a space now, the one big letter you erase now leaves space for two. What did we say? You're obligated for erasing with the intent to write. Right? Just erasing, you're not obligated. You're only obligated in erasing if you intended to write. Now at this point, you're basically erasing, you can now write 2 letters. So therefore you're obligated. And Amar Rabbi Menachem Rabbi Yossi, Zeh Chomer b'mochek mi b'kotev. This is where erasing is more stringent than writing. These all seem to be associated with building. She says something we already know, both of them said this, which is anything that's associated with the last thing to be done is makeh b'patish. Now, the Mishnah, I just want to go back to the structure. The Mishnah said, it started off by saying, bottom of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, Avot Malachot Arba'im Chaser Echad. That was our intro sentence. It then listed all the Malachot. And then it said, Harei Elo Avot Malachot Arba'im Chaser Echad. It ended with the way it began. Now, sometimes they do that, but they want to know why are you saying these words? Why are you saying Elo Avot Malachot? And why are you saying, again, Arba'im Chaser Echad? First of all, I looked up this issue of Arba'im Chaser Echad. In Safrai's book of Mishnah Eretz Yisrael, he basically says it comes up in a lot of different places, not just with 40. Okay, so if we wanted to connect it to Mako, not necessarily the case. He says there's a whole bunch of things, 70 minus 1. There's even some number 357 minus 1. I don't know, there's some random numbers. Here, I'll look at for a second. Where does he say? He says there's 370 minus 1. Okay, they're all 10s minus 1. Okay, something divisible by 10. 100 minus 1. There's 50 minus 1. There's a whole bunch of places where it appears. He basically says there was borrowed from the Greek. The Greeks use this, and it was just a way of speaking. Okay, let's go to the Gemara now. Elu, why does it say these are Avot Malachot? Whenever they say these, that seems to exclude others. So Elu lafukim et Rabbi Eliezer b'machayev al tolada b'mkom av. They say it's to distinguish and say this Mishnah doesn't hold like Rabbi Eliezer, who thinks, if you remember, what did we say? The whole idea of why they're telling us the number is to say you're chai for each av malacha, and every tolada fits under the av malacha. So if you did a tolada of memachek and you did memachek, you buy only one. Rabbi Eliezer thinks if you did memachek, let's say a few things of memachek and a few toladot of memachek, you're going to be chayav on the tolada one, and on the avot you did one. So in other words, it's only they line up with avot malachot but not the toladot. So theoretically, you chayav for every tolada and for every av. So our Mishnah is trying to tell you we don't agree with him. Chaser achat. Why did they repeat that chaser achat? Right? They already said at the beginning of the Mishnah. Lafu came into Rabbi Yehuda to distinguish themselves from Rabbi Yehuda. To say again, the Mishnah doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya. Rabbi Yehuda mosif et hashovet v'hamedakdek. Okay, these are 2 parts of the weaving process. One is when you're stretching the warp. So you stretch it. Right, 1 second, I have to remember. It's because it's when you line them up. They all have to be parallel and even. So when you make them all even, that's another one that Rabbi Yehuda adds. That's hashovet. Medakdek is after you weave in the erev, the weft. Then it's all very tight, but you have to loosen it a little. So you pound it a little bit to loosen the threads. So both of those, they say melachot and amrulo. They said to him, and our Mishnah is trying to say, no, it's just 39, not any extras. Amrulo, shovet tareu b'chal mesach, medakdek tareu b'chal orei. Okay, they view those each as part of the process of setting up the warp. Includes that aspect of it, and the weaving itself includes the aspect of beating the threads. New Mishnah. The old klal echad amru. If you remember when we started zeh klal gadol, we said klal gadol, which is coming to distinguish it from something else, which is a klal acher. So here's a klal acher amru, and as I told you, kayat structure. We're starting now with the last one. Hamotzim reshut reshut. Kol hakasher lahatzniya umatzniin kamohu v'hotzio b'Shabbat chayav chatat alav. If it's something that people will normally, now we're going to get into here, what if you take something out, you're not necessarily going to be obligated. It has to be something that people generally keep protected. Okay, they watch over it, they're careful about it, something important, and it's the amount that people would hide, would protect. Okay, if it's very small, like you have a crumb of bread in your pocket, nobody cares about that. You're not chayav. So it would have to be something that general people, okay, the average person, it sounds like. So let's say you're rich and you wouldn't save a small amount, but an average person would, you're still going to be obligated. But if people don't generally save that kind of amount, but you wanted to use it on Shabbat, you wanted to take it out, because it was important to you. Eino chayav ela matzniya. Now we learn that things could be subjective. The same object, you think it's important, you take it out on Shabbat, you're obligated. But if you give it to someone else and they take it out on Shabbat and they don't care about it, they're not obligated. Okay, as long as it's not the average person wouldn't use this, then the other, anyone else is not obligated, but you actually are obligated. It's like we talked about before. The 9 could be muktzah for you, not for somebody else. So now the Gemara says, Kol kasher la'atzniya. Again, it just could have said, ha kasher la'atzniya. Why did it say anything that's kasher la'atzniya? La'fuke mai, what's it coming to exclude? Rav Papa amar la'fuke dam nida. This is very odd. In case you might thought dam nida, people might collect the menstrual blood. Marufa amar la'fuke atse ashera. Okay, so Rav Papa says it's so that you don't think dam nida would be included as something people collect. And Marufa said atse ashera, that's trees that we use for avodah zarah purposes, this particular type of avodah zarah. In Sukkah, it talks about the kitute michtat shiura. These are considered as if they're nothing because they're supposed to be burned because they're avodah zarah, and even though they're in existence, it's as if they're not in existence at all. So now they say, manda amal dam nida kol shekain. They would say the same thing, obviously, about atzei asherah that they wouldn't count. Manda amar atzei asherah aval dam nida would have a use, menstrual blood. What could you use it for? I wouldn't try this at home. Matzne leila shunra. You might give it to a cat to eat or something. I don't know. Okay, a little disgusting. Be'idach. Now, why didn't the other opinion think of dam nida that you might use it for something? And he actually said dam nida doesn't count in this category. Kevan dechal shalom matznale, because it weakens your body when the blood comes out. Therefore, you wouldn't want to save the blood. Now, again, I'm not exactly sure. It's a bit of a loose connection here. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Hi, lo ke Rabbi Shimon. Here comes the big line. It says this Mishnah is not like Rabbi Shimon. De'i ke Rabbi Shimon ha'amal. Rabbi Shimon said, lo amru kol shiurim alalu ela limatzniehem. Okay, this is a very confusing line, what he means, but we'll go with the basic, which is that we don't go by the average person, okay, because a rich person who wouldn't necessarily use these items is not going to be obligated, according to him, for taking it out on Shabbat. Okay, he says these are only, right, for people who particularly keep these items and they're meaningful to those people. So he has a very individualized. Our Mishnah was a little individualized, but not so much. It was still the average. He says, no, it's all individualized. Okay, that's one way of reading him. There's a few different ways. I'll leave it at that. If you want, you can research it. But it sounds like his approach is it's very individualized by the person. So a rich person takes something out that's not important, he wouldn't be obligated if he would normally take that kind of item out, even though the average person might. Okay, and our Mishnah is coming to tell us we don't agree with Rabbi Shimon's opinion about this. Okay, that's it for today. We'll pick up from there tomorrow.